And the only way that these guys make money is by denying you coverage that you paid for. Like, that's how they make their money. It's just so messed up when you think about it. I don't know. I don't know how more people are not constantly losing their minds over how ridiculous this is. All right, let's start with Luigi Mangione.
United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione. Let's bring in CBS News correspondent Chanel Call live in a newsroom for us. Chanel, what can you tell us?
Yeah, coming to you live once again from our breaking news desk this morning, Mugo. And we just got this release from the U.S. Justice Department moments ago. I want to read to you part of it coming from Attorney General Pamela Bondi's office. It says, quote, Luigi Mangione's murder of Brian Thompson, an innocent man and father of 2 young children, was a premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. After careful consideration, I've directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in this case as we carry out President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again. It goes on to say that the murder was an act of political violence and that Mangione's actions involved substantial planning and premeditation. I also want to mention that we knew that this was a possibility, Mugo, after Luigi Mangione was charged federally back in December. He first faced 11 state charges. That included murder as an act of terrorism, and this is in connection to the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione has so far pleaded not guilty to those state charges, but the federal charges, they allow prosecutors to pursue the death penalty against him. Today, now, when we talk about capital punishment, AG Pam Bondi directing federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in this case. We know Mangione has not yet entered a plea in that federal case, but prosecutors have already said that these 2 state cases and federal cases will essentially proceed on parallel tracks, with the state charges expected to go to trial first.
Wow, some very important background and context there. Chanel Call.
Yeah, I mean, the Mangione cases and all of the escalated charges surrounding it are entirely because of politics. Luigi Mangione's actions being taken as an act of terror in the state of New York is specifically because of politics. On the federal case, Attorney General Pam Bondi pushing for this to be elevated or demanding the death penalty on it is once again pure politics. The reason why they're doing this is because they want to make an example out of him. And it's kind of interesting because I feel like this creates a unique opportunity for the court system, or at least his defense attorneys, to try to push for a mistrial. Like there is a lot of outside interference in this case. I don't know. I mean, I hope that they don't end up crucifying him. I also don't know if crucifying him like this is going to backfire, you know, in terms of like how people see him, how people treat this case, because he was seen as a relatively positive figure. And I don't think that the attitude has shifted by the broader American population. I think that they still look at what he allegedly did as not a inherently evil act, even though obviously murder is evil, right? Murder is bad. It's unacceptable. Allegedly, Luigi Mangione's alleged murdering of Brian Thompson. The very fact that in a country like America, where people are incredibly draconian and have this very, very straightforward approach to law, order, justice, the very fact that like they would still look at a situation like this as an open and shut case and still go, yeah, well, the other guy has a lot more bodies because he's a private healthcare CEO is wild to me. It is indicative of how much pain private healthcare has caused in this country, and this kind of prosecutorial overreach is inevitably going to cause more of a backlash more of a backlash in favor of Luigi Mangione and also against the administration. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Americans are so hog-minded that they'll turn around and go, no, actually, we were wrong for the things that we thought and the things that we said, you know? But he is very white, and he does come from a wealthy family. A lot of these things optically play a formative role in garnering support for Luigi's actions beyond the fact that beyond who his target was.
Voters going to the polls this morning. High stakes elections in.
The interesting part about this conversation, this back and forth, is not whether or not murder is wrong. Everyone understands that. Okay, everyone understands murder is bad. If you were, if that's how people dealt with issues, I mean, society would collapse. You just go up and be like, all right, well, you know, you wronged me. I'm gonna kill you now. Is not exactly going to make for a stable society. Now, having said that, the reason why people still have a sympathetic outlook on him, even though Americans also usually operate in this, with this, I just hear so many people praise him, and I'm sorry, I just don't get it. Yeah, you don't get it. I don't know what your background is. I don't know what your, what your family's wealth looks like. But there's a reason why so many people praise him, and that is because they understandably see someone like Brian Thompson as a placeholder for an incredible amount of death and destruction. So much so that even Americans who normally have the exact same attitude that you have are looking at the situation and going, yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit of a vigilante justice moment, because they see Brian Thompson functionally as a serial killer. Okay? Because people like Brian Thompson engage in the act of social murder. It is systematized murder. It is processed murder. It's murder through paperwork, but it's murder nonetheless to the individual who watches their loved ones suffer through their cancer treatment and have to forego treatment because they can't pay for it because their insurance decided to deny that claim. It's like that is, for them, whether it is being done by the stroke of a pen or with a sniper rifle or with a bullet, is still, it's still experienced as murder. That's the way they see it. Just because it's done for profit doesn't change that reality, right? You often argue that criminal migrants should be locked up in the U.S. It would be disingenuous for you to argue that allegedly murderer should not go to jail. Okay, first of all, there's a difference in the crimes. We're talking about like someone who's done like a serial rape or something. What? No sentence, convict for murder? What? I've said if someone has gone through the legal process and has been convicted of a heinous act, a gruesome crime, a murder or a rape or something like that, I think that, yes, justice should be served. Okay? If Luigi Mangione was a undocumented immigrant, I would still have a fairly similar attitude about it all. That his citizenship status or his documentation would not change my attitude at all, because I'm looking at the individual deed.
Line where Republicans have a slim majority in the House. And in Wisconsin, there's a race for a seat on the state's Supreme Court. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is outside a polling place in Milwaukee. Rachel, these elections are about the balance of power in the House, essentially.
Yeah, definitely, George. And not only that, it could be the first real test of how voters across the country are feeling about President Trump's agenda. So let's start here in Wisconsin, where there is a battle over a single seat on the state Supreme Court. You have the conservative judge, Brad Schibel, running against a liberal county judge, Susan Crawford. The outcome of this race will determine the balance of power on the state Supreme Court, and that could have big implications for future rulings on abortion rights, election and voting laws, but also the way the congressional maps could be redrawn in this state, which could ultimately determine control of the U.S. House of Representatives. President Trump has backed the conservative judge. Elon Musk was here handing out $1 million checks. But of course, Democrats are hoping this does turn into a referendum on President Trump's agenda. Over in Florida, there are two special elections. One is to replace former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who President Trump initially tapped to serve as his attorney general. And the other is to replace his national security advisor and former Congressman Mike Michael Waltz. Now, both of those districts are traditionally red, but Democrats still making a play. They are keenly aware that House Republicans have a narrow majority, and what happens today could ultimately either expand that or shrink it, Michael.
Yeah, big implications, as you said there, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Turning now to an election in Wisconsin with big national implications for a...
Hey, I support Luigi, but I went through his tweets. I'm sorry that I'm being woke of the day, but his tweet on Japan really irked me as an immigrant myself. How do I cope with that? Not asking rhetorically, really asking as an honest question. I don't care. I just don't care. I don't have, my expectations are not, what did he say that could make you feel more empathy for a millionaire CEO? No, it's not even a millionaire CEO. It's a millionaire CEO whose entire livelihood relies on denying the average American the healthcare coverage that they paid for. Okay? That's an entirely different, that's a totally different spectrum of pain. We're not talking about, like, I don't know, a millionaire CEO that fucking sells paint or something, okay? Like, sitting on top of an empire that sells paint brushes and paint supplies. We're talking about, like, a dude whose livelihood directly involves your parents getting fucked over and possibly dying. Claim denials are directly a form of violence. What if the paint has cancerous chemicals? Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the equivalent in this situation. You know what I mean? If the CEO was knowingly, like, the CEO was knowingly selling cancerous paint and just, like, tens of thousands of people every year were just dying because of the cancer in the cancer they were getting from the toxic chemicals in the paint itself or something. Like, that would be the equivalent. And it would have to be done in such a serialized, systematized way that, like, virtually every other paint company was doing the same exact practices, and tens of thousands of people were dying because of this every year. And then someone was like, fuck you, I'm taking revenge. That would, like, it would have to happen over such a long period of time where, like, Americans that normally never understand systematic violence would be able to see what this paint CEO was doing as a systematized version of violence, like a social murder, if you will. Actually, I just realized paint is not even an appropriate analog here, because paint has utility. Private healthcare does not. It doesn't need to exist at all. I just realized that even, like, there is quite literally no reason for this expensive middleman to exist in this process, and it is only there to make money for the company. That's it. It has no use. It is only a burden. Like, that's why it's even paint CEO is not an appropriate analog here. It's just like, you also need healthcare. You don't need paint. No, but they are not providing healthcare. They are providing healthcare insurance. Yes, you need healthcare. You don't need healthcare insurance technically. And the only way that these guys make money is by denying you coverage that you paid for. Like, that's how they make their money. It's just so messed up when you think about it. I don't know. I don't know how more people are not constantly losing their minds over how ridiculous this is.
In big early voting.
We smoke in that Luigi pack is so funny. This is how you know Republicans have no values and no interest whatsoever in anything other than, like, whatever they consider to be is the left position or the liberal position, and owning it. It's like, what do you mean? Are you a healthcare are you a private healthcare insurance executive? Like, what are you talking about? Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, we're smoking on that Luigi pack. It's such a funny fucking take to have. It's like, bro, they're killing your mother. They're killing your father. They're just, when they are not going to be able to pay for their cancer treatment, you'll see who's smoking on, okay? The administration is up in arms defending for-profit healthcare and trying to make an example out of this person, especially because of all of the enthusiasm that this person received, right? In a blatantly illegal act that we don't even know if he did or not, right? Allegedly he did it. Like you're not like an edgy boy, you know? You're not edgy at all.